Hello, friends. How are you? How's life? How's today? How's things? How's stuff? How are you? You should go to the comments and tell me. Just let me know, or you could email me, or you could text me, or you call me. Like you could do that. I brought that Kindle down today because I want to talk about a book, but not about a book. I'm not going to tell you what the book is because it was a bad book. It's more about something that went on in here in my head or with me as I was reading this book. If you really want to know what the book is, you can go look on my Goodreads. But here's the interesting part. It was a poorly conceived book. It was a book that in previous versions of Chevee would have been just completely fed up with terrible premises. I mean, just completely bonkers premises, character motivations that make zero sense, poor dialogue, just rough pacing at times, like just a bad book. But something has changed inside of me since the last time I read a book like this. And that is that I rated this book a 3. I gave it 3 stars. And that's just an honest, I didn't hate this book. And I want to know where that comes from. Because I am a critic. I always have been. And I don't like that part of myself. And I've been working lately, for years now, trying to be less of a critic. I hold myself to a standard, and it bothers me when I see other people who don't hold themselves to a perceivable standard. That's just me projecting, and I know that. And I'm not saying that the standard that I hold myself to is a standard of excellence or a measure of quality or anything like that. It's just that I have personal thoughts about the things that I put out into the world, and if it doesn't meet my, whatever, I'm just not going to do it. And sometimes, especially when it comes to ebooks that have been published, self-published ebooks, there's just it's just bad. It's just people who want to tell stories but haven't figured it out yet, and instead of writing a few stories and figuring out their craft before publishing, they just write their first book and publish it, and it's just a train wreck. I'm not saying that's what this book was, but this book was obviously a first book for the author, or the first few books, or the first book that they had tried to take to a publishable state. And like I mentioned earlier, the book has all of those things that just make it right. Like the premise of the book is outrageous. It's completely nonsensical. The kind of the what are villains called? I just completely forgot. Whatever the bad guys in the book make just the dumbest. Like, what? This makes no sense. The whole plan is just bonkers, just completely disconnected from reality. And when it's one person who's disconnected from reality and they're doing something crazy, that's one thing. But when it's a group and they're like, "Oh, this is the best plan ever," and it's just obviously not, that's weird. The main characters in this book, this is one of those boy and girl get into a situation and within 24 hours have fallen madly in love and live happily ever after, and it's just come on. I get that these kinds of books work well with a romance element, and that's fine, but the meeting and then falling in love within a day is just a weird thing for me. I don't like it. But what I found was I kept reading the book, and I read it from a very non-critical point of view. And in the end, I gave it 3 stars because ultimately, it kind of served its purpose. It was an escape. It was a silly story with wild romps and weird characters and strange scenes and information that didn't need to be there. But in that regard, it was kind of like a summer blockbuster. Nobody goes to see a summer blockbuster and walks out and goes, well, that wasn't the Phantom of the Opera or whatever. That wasn't some big, important thing. It's, often those summer blockbusters have the same kind of nonsensical plot lines, completely bonkers premises, but they work because they're just there to be just candy. You just watch it and you just enjoy yourself. And I was able to do that. And I honestly think this may be the first time I was able to do that with reading. I can do that with visual media because there's often elements aside from the visual media that are, there's visual elements that are something compelling outside of the story or the whatever nonsense is being on screen. I can find, oh, there's some interesting camera. I can look at it as a piece of art as opposed to an attempt at telling a story. But with a novel, not so much, and especially in this kind of novel. Obviously, there are novels where the author has done something on the page with the words or has tried to reorganize it in a confusing manner and made an art piece out of the book. But this was not that. This was just a simple thriller that was just poorly executed. But I think the interesting part about it is it wasn't written badly, meaning that the English was good, the grammar was good, sentence structure was good. Like, it was written well, just not a good story. And also, I had this thought as I was driving home last night. I went to band practice last night. I was having this thought about this book that I actually enjoyed reading the book. And I realized that I'm not trying to write anything right now. I'm not trying to be an author right now. So I'm not reading this book from that perspective of what can I learn from this. I was just reading it just to read it. And I think maybe that's been a problem for many, many, many years. For the last 7 years, I've been reading books from the perspective of I want to be an author. And I'm not trying to be an author right now. Right now, I'm trying to be a bass player. And what I find right now is I'm listening to, and particularly a jazz bass player, what I find right now is I'm listening to jazz music and I'm being critical of the jazz, even though I don't know what I'm talking about. And so have I switched my critique or my critical eye from one medium to another? I think so. But also, I'm approaching jazz, listening to jazz, which is not something I've ever done in my life, really, but I've been doing it lately to kind of help me understand the language of jazz. I've been listening to it with a learner's attitude. Like, I've been trying to learn from what I'm hearing. And that's allowed me to be not necessarily critical, but allowed me to question what I'm hearing and allow me to explore what I'm hearing in a different manner. And I think that's very valuable. But this reading thing, I liked it. I'm not going to continue. It was a 15-part series. I will not be continuing the series, but I enjoyed book one for what it was, And the only reason I won't continue is because there's so many books to read, and there's other series that are better written that I would rather read. And so by the time I would ever come back to trying to read this, I'll probably have moved on to something else at that point. But ultimately, I like the direction of me being able to take something in just for the enjoyment of taking it in and not being a jerk about it. I don't like being a jerk, but I often come off that way. And if you know me personally, you probably know that. Okay, that's what I got. Thank you for watching the video. You should leave a comment. What do you want to talk about tomorrow? Somebody tell me what to talk about tomorrow. Put it in the comments down below. While you're down there, like the video. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We are trying to get back to 25,000. I've been enjoying seeing that number go up. So keep it up. It makes me feel good. I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's 1,000 plus little things happy, successful people do differently. We are learning 12 happy thoughts for troubled times. We're on number 11. There's a lot of life left to be lived. The real tragedy in life is not death, but the passion we let die inside of us while we still live. Remember, troubles from the past cannot define you, destroy you, or defeat you all by themselves. As long as you keep pushing forward, they can only strengthen you. This is true. There's a lot of life left to live, so live it, like be it. And while the past can teach you lessons, don't let it beat you down. That's important. I know that's not easy to do, but it's important to think that way.